Alright, Hasa, so let's finish this up, and the first thing we need to do is import a bunch of stuff. Android.view import. Actually, let me pause my video and I'm gonna import everything we need to. Alright, so I imported all the stuff we're gonna need for, of course, to reference our interface and also to connect. Now, another thing I want to mention is for this last one, in order to be able to access that weird little binder class that we made, make sure that you import your package name right here, and it's just copy this package, whatever it is, and then get this class name and then this class name. So again, package, superclass, binder class. Alright, so now once we do that, we can go ahead and actually start writing some code. But first, let me show my line numbers and give myself some space to write. Alright. So the first thing we need is, of course, my service object, and I'm just going to name this Bucky's service, and this is just a reference to this class right here. Now, another thing I want to do is I want to make a variable called isBound. So eventually we're going to be testing, is this client bound to a service? And by default, of course, since we didn't bind it yet, we're just going to start it off as false, and whenever we bind, we're going to set it as true, and that's just so we can check the state of our, what's it called, like bindedness or whatever. And I want to delete all these because I hate these extra comments, and you guys will be able to read all the important code easier. Let me tighten this bad boy up. Alright. So, the first rule is, whenever we want to bind to a service, we need a service connection class. Now, what this class is going to be responsible for is it's pretty much going to say, okay, when you bind to the service, what do you want to happen? And when you disconnect from it, what do you want to happen? So again, those are the two things that we're going to need to stick in there, but first we need that class. So after all of your methods, give yourself some space in private service connection, and you can name it anything you want. I'm going to name mine Bucky's connection. Again, this is going to be the class that's responsible for binding to some kind of service. So again, set it equal to new service connection, and make sure you add your semicolon right there. And as you see, whenever we created it, it auto completed all of the stuff that we need to have in it. Again, this is really simple. On service connect, it says, what do you want to happen when you try to connect? On service disconnect, okay, whenever you disconnect from the service, what do you want to happen? So I know it's a lot of code, but it's really easy to understand. So whenever we try to connect to a service, all we want to do is we want to reference this binder subclass, and then it pretty much takes it from there. So if we go to my local binder, and then we can just name it binder or something, and we set this equal to my local binder service. Let me finish straightening up this one last line of code. Alright, so Bucky service, set it equal to binder dot get service, and we'll change that isBound variable to true. Alright, so what did I just write, and what does this all mean? So all this is right here is a reference to my local binder, in other words, that binder class that we wrote last time. Now once we have access to that class, we're going to call the method getService, so we know what that does. And all getService is going to do is it's going to allow us access to this class so we can use all of the cool methods in there. Now that takes care of the connection, and just for housekeeping, checking and stuff, I'm going to set isBound equal to true, because that means, okay, we are now bound to a service. Pretty stinking sweet. Now, of course, you guys already know what's going to happen here. One line of code. Whenever we disconnect from that service, or, you know, get booted out for some reason, we're just going to change this to false. Easy enough. So now what I want to do is I want to go up to on create, right here. And whenever we create this activity, that's when we want everything to start. So just like before, we're going to make an intent called I, set it equal to new intent, and alright, so this is our intent. This is what we intend to do. MyService.class. Now check this out. This is where things get a little bit weird. Now instead of just starting the intent, which would be for a normal intent, remember, we want to bind to this. We want to connect to the service. That's the whole point of this tutorial. So if we call a method called bind service, this is a built-in method that allows us to bind to something, and the parameters it takes are your intent, where is it located. The second one is Bucky's connection. So the second parameter it takes, it has to be an object from the service connection class. So that's why we just couldn't like stick this code anywhere else, because this method to bind to service, it requires an object from this specific class. Alright, now one last parameter. Wow, that is definitely ignore security. That didn't sound good. So context, why can I not type today? Bind auto create. So again, you guys already know what this does right here. I already explained it. No need to explain it again. So the last thing that we need to do is, you're probably scratching your head and you're like, alright, so this looks good and all, but okay, we're connected to this and then get the time, but how the heck does it show? Because I know that we had this button right here and it called a method show time. So shouldn't this like app do something useful, like implement that method? So yes, let's just go ahead and do that right now. So again, this is the easy part. Public void. I'm gonna start my emulator right now. Alright, alright, alright. Get out of my way. Get out of my way. Thank you. Alright, so public void show time. This is going to be the main method responsible for actually showing the time. And string current time set equal to Bucky's service. Alright, move that out of the way too. So Bucky's service get current time. Because remember, once we take care of all of our housekeeping stuff, this Bucky's service is essentially going to be a reference to this class, and it's going to allow us to access all the methods in here, which, look at that little gem, get current time. So after this, of course, we just need to update that time on the screen. So text view, Bucky's text, and set it equal to text view find view by rdr Bucky's text. And of course, now that we have a reference to it, we can just call set text, and the current time is going to be current time. Pretty sweet. So there we go, and now let me just wait for my emulator to start up. Actually, I forgot to pass my views along there. Alright, so hopefully, cross your fingers, I'm gonna click this and check it out. It now is connecting or binding to the service, which is returning the time and displaying it on the screen. So whenever I click it, it calls it again. So remember, this end is 6 seconds. Click it again, 11. Pretty stinking awesome. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you create a bound service. In other words, how you can create an activity that can communicate to your service. Technically, it's called a client communicating or binding to your service, but whatever, I don't give a F. Alright, so thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.